If you're wondering where I am and what this background is, I'm actually shooting in my garage. I'm without a Lamborghini, sadly. But anyway, my family called a plumber today and our basement was leaking like sewage or water or something, and I have all my lighting equipment and my cameras down there, so I was like,
My lights, my camera, my action ain't getting soaked today, baby, and I
brought my stuff out here, and it's actually quiet in here too, which is nice because I'm stuck at home with my family, so it's nice to not hear floors creaking and stuff like that. And I actually, because it's kind of creepy right now, it's like 11 at night, it's super dark, I have a little axe right here, just in case someone tries to with me, but you know, not that I'm gonna beat them up anyways. It's at least worth a try, but that's not the point of this video. Today, we're here to talk iPhone SE, and I've had these since Friday, since I've got them in the mail, and I've been daily driving one, this white one particularly, since like Monday. And since I'm at home, since we're all at home, of course the analysis process is going to be quicker because I'm always on my phone. I'm always on TikTok and YouTube and messaging people and FaceTiming people because I can't see them in person. I digress, and I gotta say, before I even get into this review, I am very happy with this phone, even though I'm someone who's accustomed to the iPhone 11 Pro Max with a massive OLED 6.5-inch display and, you know, like really great speakers and a triple camera setup. And even with that said, I'm happy that Apple launched a new iPhone with new hardware for people with lesser needs and a lesser budget. So yeah, without wasting any more time, let's jump into my full review here. But before we do, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, as the YouTube algorithm likes that and will help push my content to more people. And if you are a recurring viewer, be sure to press the bell icon and turn on all notifications. It does help the channel out a lot. Beginning with design, let's just be real here. This is an iPhone 8. We saw this in 2017 with the introduction of wireless charging with the iPhone 8, and from the front you could argue that it's exactly like the iPhone 6, which was launched in 2014 with these thick bezels and the home button and everything. But if you can get past that, I gotta say, this phone feels premium, and not only that, it's clean. You got this really nice glass back once again, which we saw with previous iPhones, but Apple has simplified it. They've removed the iPhone labeling and they've just left a centered Apple logo, just like you see on the, you know, bigger and better iPhone models. And then of course you have the camera cutout and the flash cutout. So yeah, beyond the outdated aesthetic, I'm a really big fan of the way this phone feels in the hand. I know a lot of people who are still on iPhone 6s, iPhone 7, and iPhone 8, and if they were looking for a faster phone with better battery life, then this could be it. You know, not everybody is looking for the full screen experience that was introduced with the iPhone 10, or not everybody cares that much. I just moved a light, by the way, that's why it got brighter and more yellow. But anyway, as for the speaker setup, it is stereo, thankfully. That was introduced with the iPhone 7, but at the same time, it's not going to be the best audio setup because Apple had to cut corners to get this phone to be sold at its price, you know, $399. Mids and highs are okay, but bass is kind of like compared to my 11 Pro Max, of course, which is a much bigger phone with probably bigger drivers. It's just not there, but I'll give you a little audio test so you can see what I mean. Like, bass is okay, but like I was listening to some Daft Punk earlier today, which of course I can't play on here because copyright, but there were some nuances that I could pick up with my 11 Pro Max, whereas with the iPhone SE, I just couldn't really hear them. So yeah, speaker quality is definitely okay for music listening and movie watching or just media consumption. I don't think many people will complain, but at the same time, like I said, it's definitely not the best you can get from Apple right now. Next up, let's talk display, and truthfully, this is the worst aspect of this phone. Like, it's the biggest caveat you have to accept when buying a $400 iPhone with more modern specifications, but I'm not saying the display itself is unbearable. I've been fine with it. Am I gonna sit here and lie that the bezels are like beautiful and I don't really notice them? No. They are a little bit obtrusive, but I'm not super bothered by them, and I've been using this phone, like I said, for about a week now, and I've, you know, of course, become accustomed to them. And if you're like an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 8 user, you're not going to care because it's going to be no different. And then as for the display resolution, yes, it's 720p, you know, in 2020, dear God. But at the same time, you know, 326 pixels per inch is not a horrible resolution. You know, the colors are decent with this IPS panel. You get True Tone, which is definitely a great feature. Some people don't like it. I really like it. It makes the display just look so much better in every lighting condition because you know how to adjust the temperature to your environment. And something else you have to keep in mind is that most internet video content is done at 16:9, whether it's streamed or produced or whatever. So this display, even with its 720p aspect ratio and its 4.7-inch size, can still accommodate this type of media very well. And also, of course, this is a very compact phone in today's standard, just like the original SE was back in 2016 with a 4-inch display when this 4.7-inch display was a standard. It's part of its shtick. And you know what? Even though I am used to bigger phones and I do prefer them at the end of the day, I really do enjoy the fact that I can one-hand this phone. That is something that I miss from, using an iPhone 5S, for example. After that, I've, been using 5.5-inch displays plus since then. And yeah, like I kind of miss that. I kind of miss being able to whip my phone out of my pocket and just get to business without having to, use two hands and, really occupy myself more, if you know what I mean. Next up, let's talk battery life. And people have been asking me about this, so I've been really careful to monitor and pay attention to what I'm doing. And being in quarantine, it's easy to do that because like I'm at home all the time and I'm constantly using my phone for YouTube and TikTok and messaging and FaceTime and whatever. And maybe you see that I have 7 hours and 17 minutes of screen on time. Let me explain that. As I just, suggested, I am a heavy user. And the truth is, the battery life with this phone isn't exactly incredible. I think it'll last you all day of moderate usage, you know what I mean? Like if you're just like going to work and like maybe use this for GPS, or you make a couple phone calls and maybe watch a video at lunch or something, it'll definitely get you through the day, no problem. But if you're on it all the time like I am, especially while we're at home, the 1800-ish milliamp hour battery is just not going to cut it, especially with the hardware that is inside. FaceTime, for example, really killed my battery, and I know that's a battery killer for all iPhones and all Apple devices, but yeah, like I dropped like 20% all of a sudden from like a 30, 40-minute phone call, so that was a bit concerning. And then I just, of course, plopped this onto my wireless charger to, gain some juice. But the good thing is that this phone does charge quickly because it has a smaller battery. So in my case, when I'm just making a quick errand or I'm going out of the house for my commute, I'll plug my phone in to use CarPlay, and during that time my phone will charge noticeably more quickly than other phones because, as I said, the capacity is smaller. Next up, let's talk camera performance, and for $400, the iPhone SE has a tremendous amount to offer. Believe me, let me tell you, it's fantastic. While you don't get an ultra-wide or a telephoto or Apple's low-light processing or 4K front video, you get a really decent wide-angle camera, which is pretty much identical to the ones found in the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro. And from what I can tell, I mean, like, the image processing seems to be similar, if not identical, to the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. You get great colors and sharpness and clarity, and also decent natural depth of field with the f1.8 aperture in this lens and sensor here. Apple also included portrait mode with this phone, despite the fact that it lacks any dual sensor setup or Face ID tech, so it works on the front and the back, sort of like it did with the iPhone XR, and I'm very happy with the performance. It doesn't work with non-people things, but for selfies and portrait shots of, your friends or family or pets, you can of course add that really nice bokeh effect and change the lighting and the depth of field after the fact or as you're shooting as well. And while you can only shoot HD video from the front-facing camera, which looks decent by the way, of course you can shoot 4K 30 and 4K 60 video from the back, and I'm super impressed with it. It's optically stabilized, it has great clarity and exposure and dynamic range, just like the images that you can take with this phone, and it's very similar, like I said, if not identical, to the performance of the iPhone 11, minus maybe some low-light aspects in photos, but I don't think that translates to video anyway. And I could see this being a great, budget content creation phone because as we've seen with the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro, they are themselves great phones for video recording. And I even, use my iPhone 11 Pro Max all the time to shoot intros and other shots within my videos. And last up, we got performance. And of course, this is the best aspect of this phone because this phone packs the A13 Bionic processor, which might be the best SoC on the market right now. The scores, of course, are very, very impressive. And if you're into gaming, for example, I did a whole gaming test. This is the phone to buy if you're not into spending like, upwards of $1,000 on a smartphone, maybe even more than $700. You get so much power in this device. And as I said in my gaming video, this phone doesn't have to push a high-resolution OLED display, so it's going to be even more powerful, like previous OnePlus devices which had 1080p displays and the best Snapdragon processors on the market. And then of course the UI experience is super buttery because this phone packs the same processor as the bigger, badder, more expensive iPhones. One thing I'll say though is that this phone seems to lack that 120Hz input rate, not refresh rate, but I think that Apple makes the other iPhones feel faster than they actually are because there's less like input lag or something. This phone obviously sports an older display which lacks that tech, so it is a bit noticeable. But yeah, opening apps on this phone and like multitasking is the same experience pretty much compared to like my 11 Pro Max. I didn't notice any slowdowns or anything because again, this has the same processors. So yeah, performance overall is pretty much identical to my phone, my daily driver 11 Pro Max, which costs, like twice, 3 times, maybe even 4 times as much as this phone. And even with 3 gigs of RAM, I'm able to keep a lot of apps open in the background with no issue without having them, like refresh all the time. Oh, and another thing, since this phone of course lacks Face ID, it has Touch ID 2nd generation in the home button and it works like a charm. It's super quick, and I kind of miss the convenience of this. And it's especially convenient as of right now during a global pandemic when you're out of the house with a mask on. All you have to do is tap the home button and you're in. And that about wraps things up here. I hope this video was helpful. This is a great value iPhone, and if you have $400 to spend and you want a really great camera and really amazing performance, but you don't need all the other bells and whistles that come with the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro Max, I highly recommend you check this out. I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, and of course, subscribe for more content like this. Expect my Magic Keyboard review for iPad Pro coming very soon, and as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.